As great of an achievement being a valedictorian or just being highly ranked in your school in general is, that alone won't get you into the Ivy League. There are 20,318 high schools in America, which theoretically means there's 20,318 valedictorians. Do you think being valedictorian among the 20,317 others that they can choose from gets you a golden ticket to an Ivy League? I mean, obviously it helps if you have a high GPA, but if that's all you have to show for yourself, you're pretty much screwed. Take it from me, someone who's been through this process already, got into multiple top 20 schools for CS, as well as successfully consulted students to schools like UPenn, Johns Hopkins, Princeton, and UCLA. So in this video, I'm gonna go over why being a valedictorian alone won't get you into the Ivy League, as well as what to exactly do to not see a wall of rejection letters by the end of high school. And if you stick to the end, you'll learn the secret to finding the best extracurricular activity personalized just for you. Now, as you go through high school, you go through all these hoops. Regular classes feel like a bit of a breeze. Honors class to, actually pay attention. Then those AP and especially IB classes, that's when things get tough. But throughout all this, all this shit, right? There's that one kid that's probably a bit annoying, but they breeze past everything without breaking a single sweat. You might look at them and think those types of students are what top schools want. And yes, you're right. But when that's the only thing going for them, not doing anything outside of school, spending all of their time just to get the highest GPA, tell them good luck, because that's just a recipe for disaster. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's quite sad. They spent 4 years of high school tryharding since day one and did well, but because they're too focused on just getting good grades, they don't have any time or energy to do other very important things, such as extracurricular activities. Now, you might be confused, like a valedictorian, wouldn't that make every college run after them? Yes and no. Yes, they're attractive candidates for many colleges since they're so competitive academically, but what many students and especially parents misunderstand is that being valedictorian alone isn't enough. And I'm not kidding, I'm not saying this just to, I don't know, make a good title for this video. So 2 years ago, I was talking to a parent. She wanted to ask some questions about her son's application process and stuff like that. I mean, I knew that she had a son around the age to apply for college and that he had great grades because, well, that's all she would ever talk about. Oh, he's so, he's doing so well in school, blah, 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 right? But she tells me that his college results were nothing like she and her son expected. Rejected from schools that she considered a safety, and of course rejected from all the top schools he applied to, thinking that he had a good chance because, well, he was the valedictorian. Like, no doubt the kid was really, really smart and of course hardworking. And in the moment, even I was confused because what's going on in my head is like, wait, this dude's a valedictorian and bro still didn't get in anywhere. Like, how does that even happen? So I listened to her go on and on. I start to get the gist of what's going on. And I realized it's like he did not do like anything outside of school. He spent all of his hours, all his free time studying, doing homework and doing projects. Like, that's it. Now, kudos to him for working hard and getting that, title of valedictorian. Only 20,000 people in the US get that title every year. But since he was so tunnel vision like a horse with blinders, he didn't see the bigger picture, you know what I mean? By the end of the 4 years, he had the title of valedictorian, but his list of extracurriculars were empty. Like, no unique experiences to write about in his essays. Therefore, there's simply no reason for top schools to pick him up. You might ask, why won't they pick a valedictorian? Isn't that enough? Great question. I mean, I mentioned earlier that there are 20,318 high schools in America, right? That logically indicates 20,317 other valedictorians that are GPA-wise on the same level as you, given that you're a valedictorian. Now, imagine out of those 20,317 other valedictorians, how many of them do you think do other crazy extracurriculars while getting top grades? I'd guess a pretty good amount of them. So even if you are a valedictorian, don't let your chase of being the #1 student in your school blind you from the fact that GPA isn't the only factor. It is the most important factor, but not the only one. Now, chances are you probably aren't going to be valedictorian and might not even be close. So that puts even more emphasis on the things you have other than your GPA. If you can't prove to them that you're a competent student, someone who would be a good fit for their school with your grades, you need to prove it in another way. There's no singular cookie cutter way to get into the Ivy League. You can have a pretty decent GPA, but be an Olympic athlete, have decent GPA, and win the toughest competition out there for coding. And I'm not kidding when I say this. One of my consulting students last year got into an Ivy League through, winning competitive eating competitions. Competitive eating. So what is it you'll do? What kind of skills do you have that you can utilize for your advantage? In my How to Create Ivy League Extracurriculars in 5 minutes video, I break down exactly how top students create Ivy League extracurriculars. Briefly put, top students don't spread their time and effort into 10 different facets. Think about a singular stream of water that signifies your time and energy. It's incredibly hard to fill up 10 different water buckets by splitting that single stream of water. One, it takes forever, and two, by the time, time's up, there's probably not much water in there anyways. Top students don't split their stream of water into 10 buckets. Rather, they focus on that stream of water into 2 to 3 buckets. In our case, this would, mean focusing their time and attention to just 2 to 3 activities and going deep, achieving awards and accomplishments that 99% of other students won't simply get because the other students are too busy putting water into the other 8 buckets. Is this starting to make sense? I go further into this concept in that video, so if you want to check the full video out, the link will be in the description. And if you've watched until this point, comment top tier and I'll try my best to respond to every single one of you guys. Now, hopefully that made some sense, focusing on just a few things rather than 8, 9, 10 activities. So then it's time to actually put in time and effort into these 2 to 3 activities. But the question is, which one do you choose? And if you haven't started yet, what do you even start? Well, this is the type of question that millions of people wonder when choosing a job. What job should they choose? You want high pay, but you don't want to sell your soul for it. While on the other side, you can choose a job you enjoy, but you want to be able to, pay all your bills. Well, according to Ikigai, a Japanese concept that refers to something that gives a person a sense of purpose, we should use these 4 questions to find the answer. What is it that you love? What is it that you love? What are you good at? What can you be paid for? What does the world need? And within the intersection of all these 4 questions is your answer. Take investment banking, for example. It pays pretty well, $107,000 on average for an entry-level investment banker in California. It pays you handsomely, but is it what you love? So that fails the Ikigai test, if you will, for many people. I mean, there will be people who love it, and that's amazing, but unfortunately, that isn't the case for most people. But you get what I mean now, right? Now, using a similar concept of Ikigai for extracurriculars to choose, use these 3 questions. What are you good at? What are you truly interested in? What opportunities are currently possible? Now, as long as whatever you choose is within the intersection of at least 2 of these circles, then it's enough reason to choose it. Everything else, you can either completely drop them, or the second option, which is what I recommend, is to just do the bare minimum to keep it maintained, especially if you've already been involved for a super long time. So if you're an artist at heart, but you're doing random volunteering activities and participating in random clubs just because someone told you that, doing those things is good, what are you doing? Go draw those silly cartoons. You can frame them and donate them to a hospital for little children to see. Being the positive influence simply with your heart for children that are suffering from health problems. Don't you think that's better than volunteering for causes you don't care about? Participating in clubs that you aren't even good at? Why are you playing a game that you don't like? There's no cookie cutter solution in getting into the Ivy League or whatever dream school you're thinking about. You should be leaning into your strong suits, the things that make you you. I hope this was a help for you. If it was, feel free to subscribe, comment, all that stuff. And yeah, that's about it. Peace.